All right, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for joining this morning, and thank you for joining right now. I want to let you know about myself. Who am I? Why am I here? Who am I? My name's Colin. And if you have come from Modern Yoga Teacher already, then you're used to the old owner, Ryan Rockwell. I know a lot happened in his business over the last couple of years, and it was like divine intervention. I was sitting there one day. Things have really shifted for me here in Costa Rica. And I was actually on with Rochelle. We were in a business coaching session. And I said, I'm gonna start focusing more on the business of yoga because I'm a yoga teacher trainer. I'll let you know like a little bit of my history. And I've been coaching yoga teachers for all these years. And literally right after I get off of our group session, there's an email from Ryan saying like, do you want to buy my business? And that kind of started it. And so I ended up, yes, purchasing Modern Yoga Teacher. And I mean, he has a great program, lovely. And my principles have been similar and different. So Ryan's program has really focused on, you really only need like 1 to 2 clients a month to make 5 to 10K. And my experience has been like the journey that I think a lot of people take, hustling, teaching a lot of classes at a lot of different studios, running all around, running workshops, running retreats, eventually teacher trainings. And it has been a lot of work. It's been amazing and hard, terrible and great. All of the ups and downs, I would say. And one thing that I know is that I promote multiple streams of income because though it may be awesome to have 1 to 2 clients a month coming to you for your online programs, if that's working for you, that's awesome. For me, in the last year, I had an experience in which I was really focusing on in-person retreats and teacher trainings. And then inflation has just brought down the amount of people traveling and spending thousands of dollars to come away for 1 week or 3 weeks to take teacher training, and in a very saturated market. So I went from, 5 figures a month to 4, and it was incredibly painful. But what I can say is that I had multiple streams of income, and I think that saved me. It allowed me to kind of like reroute the business and where I was going and what I was doing, and pay my bills. So I'm here, like, I love, you can make $1 million and live the most abundant life and travel all over the world and do all of the things and make $86,000 a month. And that's awesome. And if that's what you want, that's awesome too. I have supported some people in creating massive amounts of income. And for me, what I've realized is I want to have enough money to be able to take care of my family, myself. I want to travel. I want an abundant life, but what I did found was myself in the hustle of trying to make $1 million a year. And I found it quite consuming, and I suffered from burnout. So I really promote like Gary V. If anybody knows Gary V, it's like this idea of like everybody needs to have a job, right? Like it'd be great to be a world-class Tony Robbins coach and spend all your time traveling and doing that, which I used to really want, and then realize like it's a hustle, and it's not really what I want. What I want is to bring in 6 figures a year doing what I do, but I'm pretty tired of the hustle. So that would be the main difference I think that you would find between the owners. But I've spent a lot of time with Ryan, and we have a lot of very similar values as well. So who am I? My name's Colin Vosberg. I'm from British Columbia, BC, and I now live in Costa Rica. I've been here for about 5 years. I was a nurse for 17 years. pretty much all of those years were in the emergency room. And I have been practicing yoga since I say since I was 20. I had a daughter when I was young, and I got into the healthcare field at that time and found like a video of Rodney Yee, my first yoga teacher. And I loved it, and it supported me on my journey. 14 years later, I decided to take teacher training. I was also suffering from burnout then because I worked a lot, and I had a family, and I was pretty burnt out. And I know that I saw the doctors I was working with making way more money than me, and I felt like doing way less. I got to experience that life. It wasn't less, it was just different. But nurses really keep you alive. So I burnt out. I applied, got into med school, got shortlisted into med school. Someone dropped out and I already had funding. So they're like, do you want the spot? I said yes. They're like, great, you start in a month. I'm like, oh, I have teacher training. Tried to get out of teacher training. They're like, nope, you gotta do it or just pay for it. So I decided to do both. I started Friday evening for the weekend for my first weekend of teacher training. And on Monday, I started my first day of med school. And I knew by Sunday I made a big mistake. Med school is not the answer. Yoga was. And that seemed really crazy, right? My experience of yoga teachers were they were broke. They did it like kind of as a hobby on the side of the job that they had. We're talking back in 2014. So I decided to do both. I continued my yoga teacher training, and on the last day, I said to my teacher, I made a mistake. What do I do? And she said, you just pick a number and then you make it. And it was like, just the way she said it was like, I can do this. And what I knew is, I'm now $200,000 in debt for school that I don't want to go to anymore. And so and I know what's a doctor going to make? $20,000 a month. So that's what I'm going to aim for. $20,000 a month teaching yoga at the time in person. So I got pretty close. I was raising a family. I was nursing. I was running my yoga business, building my yoga business, running all over town. It was a lot, and something had to give. And so it was med school and nursing. I ended up hiring a business coach, and within 3 months, I was bringing in $20,000 a month teaching in-person yoga. Now, because I went about it a different way. I really focused on the kids yoga, right? Kids yoga and meditation, because at the time meditation was like brand new, especially in the place that we were living. And so I could run workshops, right? Instead of $32 a class, it was like $32 a person. And though I still needed to revenue share with the yoga studio or all of them, I was hustling. I was working basically 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., 6 to 7 days a week. So it didn't come like easy. I really had to work for it. But that allowed me to quit med school and quit nursing. And I have not gone back. That was January the 1st, 2017 was, it was a New Year's thing. So December the 31st, 2016 was the last time that I worked in the healthcare field. So when I took my teacher training, immediately my teacher asked me to teach anatomy for the teacher trainings because I have this history. And so I've been teaching teacher training since 2014. I've completed either co-facilitated, lead facilitated, or taught anatomy in over 200 yoga teacher trainings, 200-hour yoga teacher trainings. So I come with a lot of knowledge, a lot of practice, and I also started coaching based on yogic principles and coaching yoga teachers into bringing in an income full time since 2017. So I keep mentioning Rochelle. Rochelle is my assistant that works with me. She's amazing. She's like my operations manager. And she is actually one of my first clients. So it's pretty neat and nostalgic to tell the story and have her here. So it's pretty neat. Yeah, so and then that was it. I mean, there was months that I made much more than that, and I stayed pretty consistent with that over all the years until about the last year. So I've been in business for almost 8 years, or just about 8 years now. and I've been pretty successful at it. And like I said, I've been hustling. So I'm feeling, I'm 44. My kids are grown. You know, I ended up moving to Costa Rica. They left a little bit earlier than expected. And I looked at my partner and I didn't want to be in that situation anymore. So I sold everything I own and I actually went to Peru. I'd been running retreats in Costa Rica for a couple years since 2015. And I ended up coming here and I went back and forth a little bit, but this is, you know, when we did the visualization this morning, this is what I saw. It was more beach. I'm in the jungle now. You can hear the macaws like literally flying over right now. Um, but I remember like whenever I would do these visualizations, that's what I would visualize was like the sound of the ocean in the background, this big airy home with outdoor living space, and it was here. And so, you know, that happened about 5 years ago. I've been living in Costa Rica for 5 years and running yoga teacher trainings, running the anatomy sessions, and so on. I mean, I could go on forever, and I'm not going to. So I'm going to stop. And that's why I'm here today. This is why Modern Yoga Teacher was such a great fit. I remember one of the things that Ryan said when he was kind of like between people choosing who he wanted to go with. He said, you are the only one that's like actually a yoga teacher, right? Like they all were yoga teachers, they all taught yoga, but then they like went into the business side of things and then became more focused on like creating the business, bringing in income. Whereas I have this history of like teaching teachers, like helping to create. And so this feels full circle for me when we come back to being able to not only here's teacher training, but like we aren't allowed to share a lot about business. We get 5 hours out of 200 to teach you how to make money. Here's how to be a yoga teacher, but that's it. Bye. And, you know, like not even a full yoga teacher, but like just like here's how you teach vinyasa or whatever that looks like. So I always felt like this was a full circle because for me, this was my passion. I realized it was teaching, not necessarily yoga, it was teaching. And this was a more holistic perspective than what I was doing in nursing, which felt kind of gross by the end. So I'm just reading, Rachel said, good for you. I'm taking an anatomy class right now. Awesome. Running a business, keeping up a family, home, and social responsibility. Yeah, that's it. Like there's the hustle, right? And I know people would be like, how do you do it? How do you do it? You're going to burn out. I'm like, no, 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 no. And then I took some time and it was like, oh, damn, here it is. Like, I just can't continue to go off this battery that has no recharge. So it's been very humbling to be where I've been for the last it's literally a year now. It was June that I took off 3 months, June, July, August, and here we are, like a year later. And it's been an interesting journey. So yeah, so I'm gonna stop. Like I said, I can go on forever. Yeah, so for thank you. It's such a saturated break. It is, and that's it. Like, here's the thing. I think it's a good thing and a bad thing that we're in a saturated market right now. The good thing is it's saturated, so people are dipping their toes in and being like, oh, it's saturated, I can't do this, and it's an excuse to leave. Okay, so that means that if you're in the market, that you're consistent and you're showing up. So it just takes like being really clear on your path in the market and then becoming known as an expert in what you do, right? The niche or the niche, as we say or as people say in the US, and then getting yourself out there. And so we do go over a lot of that in the program as well. How do you sell? Because I know that like that's one of people's least favorite things to do is sell themselves. But I also know that we're doing it all day long. No matter what, we're selling ourselves to our partners, to our kids, to like friends, to like the barista that gives us coffee. Like we're constantly selling. It's just like, let's look at it in a different way. So yeah, and it's really important to know our path and then really stick to it. Because I also think in this world, it's just like, okay, I'm doing this, but oh, squirrel, I should do that. That looks funner. Okay, and then I go over here and then yeah, it's like we'll look at a lecture called Pick a Path that I think will be very helpful for that. So Yeah, so buckle up. You'll learn some of the lessons we'll be looking at in the program as well, just to, so that you can get a feel for how I teach and yeah, kind of what my gem is. I've spent years taking years and hundreds, and I mean hundreds of thousands of dollars doing business coaching with multiple coaches, seminars, like, I've gone, I was a really big fan of Tony Robbins for some time, and I've attended, two of his business masteries, Date with Destiny, Unleash the Power Within, walked on coals, did all these things. I've worked with, apprenticed with coaches, and yeah, so I come with a lot of experience, and my journey has been over the last few years of, I know when COVID hit, I was like, oh yeah, Tony, like, let's go back. I'm here in Costa Rica and he's doing online stuff. And I jump on and he starts talking about things that I've heard him talk about a million times, and it just felt so masculine. And for a long time, that's resonated for me. But at the same time, what I keep noticing is this hustle, 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 like just hustle, like your whole life is hustling. And while I've done that and I've loved it, I also don't anymore. And I feel a little more of like the feminine coming in of and it could be like change in relationship status. I have no idea, other than it's really come back to, I don't want to keep doing it that way. And even when I talk to Ryan, like Ryan and I are very in contact, so the old owner of this business, and he's like, okay, what have you done? I'm like, slow it down. I need a breath here. Like, it's already started. Because I feel that very masculine energy of like, go, 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 do, do, do. And I've done that all my life and I'm over it. I know, based on spiritual principles that we teach, that we don't have to hustle just to make money. We can create a space where it comes to us, right? And yes, we still have to take action. Like, manifestation is an actual physical science, and action is a part of that, but so is receiving, right? And so is like changing our perspective that in order for me to make money, I have to be out there working really hard. So I've worked really hard. Now it's time to feel the benefit of having worked really hard. So that's what I mean. Like, when I say part of the beta launch is like, you have to be ready and you have to show up. And we're going to work on a lot of the old stories that you might have. So part of your responsibilities for our time together, for our calls, are that you use your own discernment, right? I'm sharing from a place of my life, my age, my experiences, my business. Like, if what I'm saying doesn't match for you, it's not because I'm like the end all be all. I say this in yoga teacher training all the time. Please ask why. Just because somebody told you this is why, yoga is 10,000 years old. Like, you're not 10,000 years old, so you don't have actual proof of that. So while I'm hearing it and that sounds amazing, I'm also not going to argue with somebody else just because my teacher told me. So use your discernment. Whatever I say is like right for me, but it might not be right for you, and that's okay too. That's like a perfect example of the please use your discernment. Like, I'm an expert in what I do, and it doesn't mean that I'm an expert in you. um, and think for yourself, right? Within this, it fits with the discernment. If it's not really landing, that's okay. And I want you to communicate if something doesn't click and you need more clarity. You can put something in the chat, and also we'll be doing question and answers like at the end of the day. So if at any point you have a question and I'm talking, just write it down. I'll do my best. I've been teaching for years in group settings, so I usually will be like, how is this landing? Where are we? Like, what are you feeling? Comments, questions, anything. And so I often do that during lecture, but if I feel pressed for time, I'm not going to do that. So at the end of the day, we have a full hour session so that you can ask any questions pertinent to you, maybe not even have to do with the lectures or whatever. That is your time. So please write it down and then bring it up in the question and answer period, unless there is space or grace within the lecture for you to share. So Yes. Thrilled to work with. Exactly, exactly. Yes, I love that, Monica. I'm just reading Monica and Rachel's comments in the side. And yeah, and we get into a whole session on attracting clients, and that's it. Like you are working with the right students, not just any students. So stay present on the call to the best of your abilities. Like this is your business. Right? And how you do anything is how you do everything. And so I just want to throw that out there. You know, if you're quite busy and doing other things as you're taking this, like great on you for being able to do that. And like when you have the space and time to sit down and fully absorb the teachings, I've found that we aren't actually made to multitask. In teaching actually restorative and the nervous system 50-hour yoga teacher training, one of the things that I learned immediately was our burnout is because of our multitasking. The fact that we're constantly in the stress response and then we're doing 27 things. It's just like we're just constantly like elevating our own stresses. And one of the best ways to bring the nervous system down is to unitask and do one thing at a time. And I'll catch myself. I'll be doing 8 things. I'll be like, wait. I know Rochelle knows this because she's been there when I've been like, just wait. And then I need to do this. Okay, now I'm done. Now I can give you my full attention because I feel like I've been giving nobody my full attention pretty much my entire life, just like half of it. And same with my business. And then I really need you to care about your success. And sometimes I say these responsibilities as a reminder for me, because sometimes I find that I'm more invested in some of my clients' success than they are. I really want it. I'm so passionate. I'm like, why, oh, why aren't you doing it? Don't you see? And then I'm like, oh yeah, there I go again, like wanting it more than the person wants it, not from a place of consciousness. I think from a place of unconsciously being used to, the devil we know, the drama that we're used to that we don't want to be in, but something new is so scary. So I need you to care about your success more than I care about your success. It's I also have noticed, and I'll share lots of stories around this, is that I found that as a nurse, it was actually much easier to bypass my own self-care because I was caring for other people. And so then that gave me like the presumption that I was caring for someone, so I don't have to care for myself. So I'll just work a 12-hour shift without peeing, without drinking, without eating, and then just be so exhausted at the end of the day. But I'm a nurse and I help so many people. So how does this feel about the responsibilities for the call? Is everybody feeling that? Sweet. All right. Okay. Thank you. And okay, so one thing I'm pretty sure that my past life, the one probably right before this one, I think I was probably white, rich, Republican male. I think I'm about like very, very sure, because for some reason I just resonate with Bob Proctor and Neville Goddard and Napoleon Hill, like these 19 kind of like 1900s to like 1930s, even though I mean Bob Proctor is like he was till more recently. I just, the way that they speak hits me, yet as the woman that I am in the life that I'm living now, also like the way that they talk is like so he and man should, and it's like, no, not cool, but at the same time I hear you. So one of the authors that I resonate with very strongly is Neville Goddard. And one of the books that I listen to every night when I go to sleep is Feeling is the Secret. I mean, Wallace Wattles, Napoleon Hill, Bob Proctor, Neville Goddard, and so many other authors kind of in that era they've got it. They're like, listen to me and do what I say, and you will have everything that you want. And then I read the book and I listen and I start doing the things and things start to shift. And then something happens and I just drop off. Right? What I know right now is the most important thing that you can do every single day is what we did this morning. Visualization, feeling. Feeling is the secret. You are energy. Like at your base, you don't have to believe in anything to know that you are made of vibrating atoms. I could take a piece of your skin and put it under an electron microscope and a piece of the table and not know the difference because we're both solids and we're both vibrating. But we are vibrating at different frequencies, right? So any thoughts that you are having currently is reality in your future. And anything that you're feeling or living right now is based on your previous thinking. So you really get to choose your direction based on what you're outputting. Right? Whatever you put out, it comes back to you. So one thing that Napoleon Hill says in his book is it's about your imagination. You know, you have an imagination and it's working very well right now. Usually it's working towards like, but what if? How am I going to pay my bills? To like, what if I take the leap and I fail? Or whatever the story is, the imagination's working very well. It's very strong in modern day society towards a negative mindset. If you have an imagination and you're using it, why wouldn't you use it in the opposite vein of like, yeah, what if I win the lottery? What if my plane lands and I get like go to the country that I'm going to? Why is it that we tend to consistently like go towards the negative as opposed to the positive? And imagine, I mean, one thing I've read over 300 personal development books over the last 4 years. And I do my thing. I'm weird. Self-proclaimed weirdo and totally proud of it. One of the things I started doing was writing down the name of every chapter. And one thing that I noticed, and I'm not joking, I'm not exaggerating, is that gratefulness is a practice that is mentioned in every single book I've ever read. What's up with that? These people say, do what I say, and you will get like what you want. And a big part of that is having daily gratefulness practice. So if we look at a frequency type situation, your energy, you're at a certain frequency, it could be fear, right? Panic, anxiety, dread, or it can be gratefulness. It can be wonder, beauty, excitement. You get to choose. This is one thing that Tony Robbins always says is like the only thing that you can control is your state. And so I challenge you to prove me wrong. Literally, I will bet you $1 million. If this is recorded, spend the next 30 days, every single day, minimum of 15 minutes, being in that feeling I'm speaking of. Remember, I said for me, it's peace and freedom. Being in that space every single day, and your life will change in 7 days. So imagine what's going to happen in 30. And I find it amazing that as soon as things get tough, one of the first things I can drop is that practice, knowing that is literally my success. How is it that I'm just like, okay, but it's not that important. I just want to whine about like how hard my life is. And I'm only speaking from me, no passive aggressiveness to anybody else. I speak 100% from experience in my own stuff. So I want to like, here you go. Here is like the thing of being in the feeling every single day for at least 10, 15 minutes. I'm telling you, it will change your life. All right, so we're at 21 after, and where I'm going to head is into the idea of collaboration over competition. I think one thing that sometimes we get lost in is the idea that abundance is a pie, right? And so if I take a big piece of the pie, then you only get a little piece of the pie. Like I have success because of these different reasons that you don't have, and that's why you don't have success. And I don't specifically mean you or I. Yet I want to take you back to yogic principles, right? The idea with like yoga and the mythology of the gods is that we have three gods. We have Brahma, who is the creator, we have Vishnu, who is the sustainer, and we have Shiva, who is the destroyer. And Brahma comes and he creates everything, right? And now he's done. In the Bible, we have Genesis. We have the idea, the concept that consciousness becomes aware of itself. And when consciousness becomes aware of itself, or God, then consciousness is aware that it's in the dark, so it creates light, right? And then continue on with the book of Genesis. So what we know is like over these 7 days, which are not 24-hour days, right? And in the creation of the universe and the creation of days, I think the days go on for years. So it's not like in 24 times 7, God creates everything. It's thinking about like day and night kind of transitioning, and then all of this creation happening, and then we move on in the Bible. So we know that creation is complete, right? Science speaks of this, just to bring it all together. Science speaks of physics specifically, the laws of physics. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So it's already created. So you don't need to create $1 million. It's already there. All that you need to do is bring it into your reality, right? So I hope that helps, that you don't have to work as hard as you thought you did, because it's already out there. And I mean, 17-year-old influencers are able to bring that into their reality pretty quickly with one viral video nowadays. So it really looks on like shifting our mindset, and again, getting into that space or that feeling, that frequency where maybe we get a viral video, or you're just led to the appropriate clients to support you in creating what you want to create for your life. So abundance is a river, and it's there, and it's accessible. And I always think of Bob Proctor. He says one of his affirmations is, money flows to and through me. Because the only reason that I am, that I want to have finances, so that I can support other people with their finances. I don't want to run my business and do the Facebook ads. I don't want to take the time to learn or be like an expert in it, because I'm an expert in yoga, or like my version of yoga. And therefore I feel like it takes away from me doing my dharma, right? My life purpose, if I go and learn how to do Facebook ads. So I would like to pay somebody to do my Facebook ads for me. Right? I would like to pay somebody to, for a long time I was like, I'm going to have a retreat center here. And maybe that still happens, and that's cool. What I recognize is like, as a retreat center owner, I'm not a lead facilitator, because I'm so busy taking care of people and their problems, and, this breaking down and no water and all of that I can't actually be a facilitator. So I would like to pay somebody to take care of all of the people while I'm running a teacher training, instead of trying to juggle all of that. So the idea is money flows to and through me, because it's not just like I have this money and now I have to keep it and hold on to it forever, because it can't go anywhere, right? Abundance is a river. And I just imagine myself heading down to the river and pulling out what I need for now. And then it's like I'm giving it back. Eventually it's going to make its way back into the river. because the river is our society, our economy, our world. And I think that it can be really helpful if you shift from the idea of competition to the concept of collaboration, right? You don't have to do everything. In fact, you trying to do everything is exactly why it can be so difficult to find success. Because you're kind of like half-assing everything. Imagine yourself as like a pitcher full of water or iced tea. I love iced tea. And this is what I've got. This is how much iced tea I have. And so am I going to pour it into 27 cups? Or am I going to pour it into like my cup? Because if I'm pouring it into 27 different things, I'm only really able to kind of, like I've said, like half-ass it. I can't fully show up for my business if I have 80 different specialties. I can't actually it's like a jack of all trades, master of none, if you've ever heard that quote, right? I can't really be an expert if I'm an expert in 87 things, because I just literally don't have enough time, energy, or money to proclaim that truthfully. So I just want to see how this is landing. We're coming up to the end of our first lecture. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I'll comment.
Okay.
Thank you. um, I just got something, just like a little epiphany. I told you I took a hiatus and then I ran a company where I was doing my creation and stuff like that. And I grew at grassroots, and it was designing and creating women's fashion scarves and stuff like that, just because I loved color and everything like that. And as my business grew, I brought my son in to be, he was a business manager and stuff like that. And I brought him in. But as it grew, as I said, next thing I'm all across Canada, I'm under my own label. But I remember cutting out all the labels by pinking shears. I remember doing this. I remember doing that. And I remember doing that. And I remember doing all my own books. And then it was like, oh my God, I have to hire a bookkeeper. I have to hire an accountant. I have to hire a warehouse manager. I had to hire sales reps. And all I did was the design. And it just hit me is what I'm doing with the business I'm trying to open up with right now, is that I'm trying to do it all. Like I did say, I went through Modern Healer before, and I learned how to make my own website. I'm doing all my own advertising. I'm doing everything like that. And I do need someone to do that for me because I know what I'm good at. Okay. But I guess where I'm really blocked is I need the money to come in to pay for the people I need to do the other work for me. And it did happen with me it was organic. I get that. But right now, I would really like it to come in a little bit faster so I can get it out there a little bit more. Because as I say, I'm getting on in my years. So I don't want to build a business, which I did that one. It took me like 15 years to get to the point where I was all across Canada. So that was a good epiphany for me. Is like, okay, so I'm just all of a sudden feel really clear. I want a bunch coming in so I can hire the people to do the rest, and I can just do what I want. And that's my vision of me walking downstairs and just having a group in front of me, and then I leave.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That just really cleared it for me. Thank you, Colin. It was just like all of a sudden, bing, bing. So
Yeah.
really good. Thank you.
I
Thank
love
you.
that. Thank you for sharing, Melanie, for sure.
Thanks.